Hello and welcome to another live stream. It's really good to see you again. My name's Craig. I'm from mentioningles.com, where you can find lots of free courses and material to help you improve your English. And we also have a podcast. You can listen to our podcast on the website at inglespodcast.com or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And with me this week, I'm delighted to welcome Mónica again. It's lovely to see you. How are you, Mónica?
Oh, thank you very much. I'm happy to be here. I'm the author of Blog del Inglés, where you can find lots of free material to learn English in Spanish with explanations, very clear explanations in Spanish. And we also do lessons over Skype or Zoom with native teachers. So just check it out.
Check it out.
Yeah, check it out.
People are starting to join us. So let's say hi and welcome this evening to, this evening, maybe this afternoon if you're in Latin America. But Fabiana's with us. Gemma, hello again, Gemma. Good to see you. Aldo,
good to see you. Aldo.
Welcome. Hugs to you as well.
Yeah.
And Myron has just come in the room. Hello, Myron. Good to see you. And hopefully more people will be joining us later
Antonio
as we
from
continue.
Cali. Yeah.
Hi. So what are we talking about today, Mónica?
Abbreviations. There are so many of them in English, or abbreviations or acronyms, or more abbreviations because it's a more generic term, no?
Well, there's a mixture. Abbreviations will just be the word made shorter, and an acronym would be a representation of a phrase with just the letters. So we've mixed them together. There's abbreviations and acronyms. Yeah.
Acronyms, no acronyms.
Acronyms.
Acronyms. So there are many of them in English, and it's interesting to know them because many times you received an email or something and they say, what is this? What do they mean with SAP? What? Or FYI. Well, this is the FYI. This is the most common ones. And we are going to mention some that are not that common, I think.
And not only in written English, you also hear a lot of these abbreviations and acronyms in everyday speech. So it's a really good idea to look at these, learn them, make a note of any new ones that you haven't seen before. And then next time you hear them or you see them in an email or on the internet, you'll know exactly what they mean. Before we start with the first one, more people are joining. Eva from Wales. Wow. I wonder what the weather's like in Wales, Eva. Is it cold over there in Wales?
No, very good.
Saudi Arabia. Michelle from Saudi Arabia is with us. Yeah. And Heidi. Hi, Heidi from Buenos Aires, where it is the afternoon, I think, about 1 o'clock over there, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So lovely to see all of you live. And of course, if you're watching the replay, thank you for spending some time with us. And as Mónica said, we're talking about abbreviations. So we'll start with some abbreviations connected to business. Do you want to take the first one, Mónica?
Okay, yes, a pleasure. Annual general meeting. So what is an annual general meeting? And in the companies, there is a group of people called the directors that take care of the meeting, the board meetings. There's different kinds of meetings. One is the board meetings. There's every day the activity of the company. And then every year, there's something called annual general meeting. And this meeting is not only the directors, but the shareholders. And what do? The shareholders son los accionistas. So the people who own the company. No, because they own a share of the company, un trocito, a share of the capital of the company. So they meet and they approve the financial statements. No, they approve the financial statements, and this is the annual general meeting. La junta in Spanish is la junta de accionistas. Okay, so the directors show the balance sheets, the financial statements, once a year, and the shareholders approve those documents. Okay? So
excellent.
AGM, that's the name.
AGM. And I've just written in the chat, if you have any questions while we're speaking, just write them in the chat and we'll do the best we can to answer your questions and queries. Of course, if you can think of more abbreviations than we have for you, then write them in the chat so that we can all learn together. The next one connected to business is CEO. Now, you often see these, you see 3 letters describing a post or a position in a company. So whereas the AGM, the meeting, is a meeting that happens, there are specific job titles or job positions that are specified in a company by an acronym. And CEO is Chief Executive Officer. That's usually the head of the company, the big boss, the top person who gives the orders. That's the CEO of a company. And you often see that as well when you're reading news or watching a Twitter feed, for example. The CEO of Facebook has said blah, blah, blah. So that's a very, very common acronym that you should know, the CEO of a company.
I often get questions about this because CEO actually is an American acronym. I don't think it's a British acronym, because in British English we have another name, and it is the president. How do you say
It used to be years ago. It used to be the chairman of a company. But then that's quite sexist. So I think you're right. It is originally North American, USA, American English. But I think it's become used a lot in UK, in British English as well, because it's a neutral term. So first it was chairman, and then it was chairwoman, and then it was chairperson. And I think CEO is just an easy way to make everything the same.
Yeah, there's another name. I cannot recall that is British. President of the... something like president for British English, but it has been extended to British English because what happens is that the economy and the companies, most very important companies, are American. So the terminology at the end is American. And in this case, I wanted to say something. Many people in Spain say the CEO, and that's a mistake. You have to stop. You have to say CEO, okay? CEO, not the CEO, because if you say the CEO, people won't understand what you're saying. Because what is that? The CEO. He's the CEO.
It sounds like the animal, the seal.
It's la foca.
The seal of the company.
Yes. No, the CEO. Okay. one comment about that. And then there are many of these different names. This is one of the names, but you have the Chief Financial Officer, CFO. They are the Chief of Operations. So you're going to see different letters, and usually they start with a C and they end with an O. And this is C and Chief, and then Officer, and in between it changes. Can be financial, can be operation.
We'll look at those in a second because we have 2 or 3 more.
Okay. I thought
just let's say hello to people who have just recently joined us. Roberto from Mexico, hello. Anna from Valencia, hi Anna. And Christine, hi Christine, good to see you. We missed you last week, Christine. And Miran says that the most common abbreviation perhaps in the office is ASAP. Yes, we do have that on our list, Myron.
That's very common.
And we will speak about it ASAP and tell you what that means in a second. And Michelle says KOM. That's a new one for me, to kick off a meeting or a kickoff meeting. The first meeting with the project team and the client of the project. This meeting introduces the members of the project team and the client and provides the opportunity to discuss the role, if you're a Spanish speaker, that's the papel, of team members. Well, I've learned something, Michelle, because did you know that one, Monica?
I know the kickoff meeting, but not the
I did not know.
KOM.
I did
No,
not
the
know
kickoff
that.
meeting is very common in business English. The kickoff, the first meeting, and I think it comes from football.
Yeah, to kick off, to
because
start the game. Yeah,
to start
exactly.
the game. So that's the origin of that word. And then you have many times you say that. It also is very common in Brussels when you go to the European community. They talk about that, the kickoff meeting.
A kickoff meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, well, as you said, the middle letter sometimes changes. So here's a different post-op position.
Yeah. So here I was talking about this chief financial officer. So this means el director financiero. Usually in Spanish would be director, okay? But in English, it's not exactly the same. When you say director in English, it doesn't mean the same. It means consejero, actually. So in this case, CFO, okay? CFO.
And a very similar one is the, sorry, I've lost my place. Chief Financial Officer we just had, COB, Chairman of the Board. A board, I think you said junta before in Spanish. That's board,
no,
isn't it? No?
You have two. No,
Okay.
there are two different. In a corporation, you have the junta. This is the annual general meeting. This is the junta de accionistas, only shareholders, and then you have the board of directors. The board of directors is only the directors of the company. And in that board, that is really the word for meeting, that refers to the table where they meet. No? In that board, in that meeting, there must be a chairman. So somebody...
Or chairwoman.
Or chairwoman. Somebody who presides the meeting, who says who talks and who doesn't talk, all these things, no? And that is that person. And this is the board of directors. And in Spanish is Consejo de Administración. Okay, that's the name of that meeting. The Consejo de Administración usually meets every month, and the other one is only an annual meeting, not every month. Okay?
Right.
And you have a chairman there. Okay? And a secretary, usually a secretary that writes the minutes. The minutes is la acta, no? Okay.
Okay. Another common expression you might see is AC. If you see AC in an email or in a document, it means account. That's an important abbreviation to know if you work in an office. Account, AC. And AI, that's very common these days,
a lot of people, it's very common, and sometimes in my classes, they get mixed up with this because one of the things that are very difficult in English is the vowels. The vowels, the first three vowels, A, E, and I. These three vowels in Spanish are totally the opposite. So people usually say, oh, the IA or the AI, the E, and they say, what? Okay, no, the artificial intelligence, because you cannot remember AI, okay? That's artificial intelligence. Very common.
Very common these days. And so you might just hear someone say that, it's run by AI or, the algorithm is an AI algorithm. So that's a very, very common abbreviation. You should know that in English. And the next one we have, as I think it was Myron said earlier, ASAP, as soon as possible. Again, it's much easier and quicker to use the acronym ASAP. I'll send you the email ASAP, or let's meet and talk about this ASAP, as soon as possible. That acronym has become very, very popular in recent years. As soon as possible.
Yeah, but remember not to say ASAP, because...
I think in American English they say ASAP, don't they? You gotta do it ASAP, man. You gotta do it ASAP. As soon as possible.
Yeah, but I was saying what I was saying about the CEO. Okay. I always say ASAP. Oh, I like this one. Automated teller machine. This is an American term for the cajero. But the problem is that we have many different words for cajero, and British English is another term. It's not this. It's cashpoint. So American English, ATM. I must go to the ATM. Or I must go to the teller to withdraw some money. No? ATM. So ATM. And it's funny because probably it was the name of the machine, no? They just put that name, and then now everybody calls the machine Attn. But in British English, that didn't happen. They decided to call it cashpoint. So nothing to do. And then they asked me, yeah.
Or sometimes the hole in the wall
Yeah.
in formal English. I'm going to the hole
Yeah.
in the wall to take out some money.
Yeah,
so
but in
you
Spanish
can also use
it's very easy, because in Spanish it's only cajero. I don't know, maybe in South America there's another word, but I don't know really. Here in Spain it's only cajero. There's no
Is
other
cajero
word.
the name of the person who gives you money in the bank?
Also.
Because a teller is also a person in a bank who will
Exactly.
give you money.
Also, in cajero in a supermarket can be also, but the person, that would be the person, okay? And for the bank would be the machine. El cajero. Voy al cajero. I'm going to the ATM. Okay.
Now, do you remember writing letters and sending them by post in an envelope? I do. I'm old enough to
Yes,
remember.
I remember this.
On the envelope, if it was a business envelope and I was addressing it to a person, I would often write on the envelope Attn, which is for the attention of, and then the person's name, so that when the envelope arrives at the company, the person who I want to read it can get the letter delivered to them personally. Sometimes you also see FAO, which is an acronym for the attention of, and then the person's name. You might see this in emails as well. If you write an email to someone, or if you send something to a company, then you might see that abbreviation on a piece of paper or on an electronic document. So for the attention of, and then the person.
Greg, I was getting a little bit worried, because I thought, oh no, maybe this is a boomer term.
Maybe it is. I'm not sure.
Yes.
Maybe it is.
Well, but maybe there are a lot of boomers watching, so they don't mind this.
But these expressions are not boomer expressions, are they?
No, not anymore,
Because
they will use it in email. But it comes from the time of the dinosaurs, because carbon copy,
paper.
Because there was. Do you remember doing that? I remember doing this with carbon paper in an office.
In the typewriter.
Or in the typewriter, I remember putting this paper, and I used to love this paper, because it was kind of black and blue, no? Like one side was black and the other side was blue, and anything you wrote was immediately copied to but it was very primitive technology, no? It was just a paper. But the funny thing is, if you think that, okay, the name remained, the action not, because you can hardly find this paper anymore. It doesn't exist, I think. If you go to the stationery and you say, can I have carbon paper? What for? Maybe for drawing. Maybe it could be for drawing.
Yeah, for drawing, maybe.
Yeah, some kind of artistic design, but nothing for business.
But what's really strange for me is that I knew that CC was carbon copy, and I never knew. I knew BCC meant that it's a copy, but some people cannot see it. So if you want to send an email to 10 people, but you don't want 9 people to see the other emails, you don't want them to know the other emails, you can put it BCC. But I did not know that it represented blind carbon copy. I did not know that that was the abbreviation.
Well, I found out some years ago, but I think most people know these acronyms. They don't know what they mean, but they know, how to use them.
Yeah. How to use them,
They know, because they are in English. And I don't know, and all the emails are really in English. The format is in English, so they know how to use them. So it's just anecdotal, because now you know where they're from. Anna version 202 is saying in EPC,
engineering, procurement and construction. That's a new one for me. Have you heard of that before?
Never before.
It sounds like one specific to engineering, perhaps.
This is jargon for engineers and civil constructions, or some, buildings.
What do you do, Anna? What's your job? Are you an
Yeah.
engineer? Is that why
Yeah.
this acronym is familiar to you?
Yeah, I never saw it. There are many, huh? There are many in other fields. We're just talking about the most common ones, and that the ones that you can see on the internet. No, we're not really.
This this acronym is not so common these days, but it's very familiar to me because a few years ago, before downloads on the internet, we sold CDs through the Mansion Inglés, and they were cash on delivery. So we send the CD by post, and when the person received the CD, they paid for it. So you paid
This is
the post
Spanish,
office when it arrived.
Yeah, in Spanish it's contra reembolso.
Exactly.
Contra reembolso. So
cash on
but
delivery.
I think it's less and less common nowadays because
Yeah,
probably people are trust more the system. At the beginning, when nobody trusted anything online, it had to be cash on delivery because you are not going to pay beforehand, no? You can be cheated. So now I think it's quite not very common anymore. I really haven't. I don't think I have ever ordered something cash on delivery.
It's not very common these days because of internet payments by credit card, downloads, much more common. What about the next one? Is this familiar to you?
Yeah, but it's the same in Spanish actually. That's why
department.
Yeah, this is very easy because the word is Latin, and so dept is very easy to see that it's department. It's not very difficult. Anna says she's a civil engineer.
Yeah, I saw that, civil engineer. That's why
you know, but we don't know.
She knows that. Yeah.
So sometimes you have to look them up. Even for me, it's the same. In Spanish, there are many of these acronyms, and sometimes you don't know what they mean. They can mean 2 or 3 different things also. I found acronyms that have different meanings. Yeah, depending on the context. Yeah. So
for example, PM can be prime minister. It can be post-mortem. It can be,
also.
And there's one more as well. I can't remember the other one.
Positive mentality. I don't know.
For a prime minister? I'm not sure. Not for the British prime minister at the moment, that's for sure.
No, say that sometimes you make them up. What is the meaning? No, what is the meaning? No, I just made it up. What is this?
I think the prime minister at the moment will be pretty mad. That would be the acronym for the British prime minister.
The British, well, he not very good times for him. Too much party gates.
Too much partying, yeah. The next one is not a terrorist organization. It's estimated time of arrival. And that's also something that we might use in conversation. You might say, what's your ETA? When are you getting here? When are you arriving?
Yeah,
so ETA will be in conversation as well.
To be honest, I've never seen this acronym at the Spanish airports because ETA in Spain means something very different.
Yeah, it could be confusing. Yeah.
So it could be confusing. I never saw that as an acronym. I always said, even in English, estimated time of arrival, like that. So it's specifically it's good for planes. No, it's very useful for planes. Estimated time of arrival, or it's always estimated because it can be late or it can be even earlier than expected.
Yeah, that's true.
So
the next one's connected to business as well, kind of, or economics.
Yeah. Sometimes I have some kind of discussions about this because in Spanish this is called PIB, Producto Interior Bruto. And in English it's called GDP, as Gross Domestic Product. But what is exactly the Gross Domestic Product? Do you know? What is it?
I think I know, but there's one. The next one I'm not sure about. So I think I know this one. I think this is the amount of money or income that the country has coming in 1 year. I think that's the definition.
Without the expense, well, there must be a more.
When it's gross, it's always without expenses. And if you see the word net, then
then it's without it. Yeah, good. Yeah.
But this one I'm not sure about. GNP, gross national product. Now, if there are any economists watching,
gross
maybe you can
national
explain the
product.
difference.
Well, yeah. Well, you can also Google it in 2 seconds. What is the difference between GDP and GNP? And you have the answer.
Okay, I'm doing that now as we speak.
What is the difference between? And Miron is saying regarding balance statements, OPEX, operational expenses. Yeah, Miron, there are many of these acronyms for financial matters. No, if you are working in accounting, all that, they have all kinds of acronyms too. It's very specific, can be very specific.
So the GDP, the gross domestic product, the value of a nation's finished domestic goods and services during a specific time period. And the GNP, the gross national product, the value of all finished goods and services owned by a country's residents over a period of time. That's very similar, aren't they? They're very similar.
Yeah.
Both expressions are two of the most commonly used measures of a country's economy.
But you were looking with difference between them? Did you find any?
Yes.
It doesn't say, no? They don't say what is the difference. Because you're just giving the definition.
The GDP, the gross domestic product, measures the value of goods and services produced within a country's borders by citizens and non-citizens. The GNP measures the values of goods and services produced by only a country's citizens, but both domestically and abroad. So not only inside the country, but also their assets outside the country.
It has to do with citizenship.
Obviously, domestic is inside the country, inside the borders, but national could be also income from outside.
From citizens.
Yeah,
citizens of the country. So, but I suppose what they do is they check the nationality of the companies. Because usually would be companies, no? Where is the company located? Where are the headquarters? What is the nationality of this company? No?
So then I suppose if there's a company, if there's a French company operating inside Spain, that would not be counted or not be included.
No, because the revenues at the end up in France.
Go back to France.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That must be. Yeah. Good.
Okay. Interesting.
We learned one more thing. I didn't know that either.
Staying on the idea of business, Inc. What's Inc?
Inc is incorporated, no? It means made into a company, no? Made into a corporation. When you found a corporation, corporation, let me say this also. Corporation is an American word, not really a British word. You have another word for corporations. And it's similar to corporations are the very big companies like an SA in Spain. So because you have limited liability companies, and I think you call it in British English limited partnership companies.
There's
and the corporation
PLC, which we have as well.
Well, you will
public
talk later.
Limited company. We'll talk about that later.
Well, but public limited companies, that's another thing. Okay. Corporations are usually, for me, it's easy to explain comparing to Spain as a big company, not a small company. It's like 10 million euros or something like that. Very, very big company. Very common in American English, very common in the United States. And when we say Inc. is incorporated, meaning when it was made into a company. So when it was started to be a company, incorporated and the date, whatever, and the moment it was made into a company.
Okay. Byron's saying that
I was talking about that.
Regarding to balance statements, OPEX, operational expenses, that's also a new abbreviation for me. I haven't heard that before.
No, but this is typical for financial English, and if you're not doing financial English, it's usually you don't know. So let's. And
Myron also says that GDP is the overall value of all goods produced in the country. Yeah, that's pretty much what we said to define it.
Okay, the next one.
The next one, not necessarily connected to business, but junior, JR. So, for example, if my name's Craig and I have a son and I call my son Craig as well, the same name, then he's Craig Jr. He's the little Craig.
The JR.
So that's very common, the JR. They're very common when you name the son after the father, Martin Luther King Jr., because his father was also called Martin Luther King. So,
and you would be considered senior.
Yes, senior will be abbreviated SR. Yeah. That was easy.
This is very easy because it's the same in Spanish. It's exactly the same. Not applicable. The people say that. Not applicable, not applicable. I don't know if everybody does this, but I do it. Not applicable. No applicable. It's not the same.
There are many abbreviations that are Latin based, and this is one of them. NB, which means to take note. So Nota Bene is the Latin word, but we often abbreviate it with NB. And a lot of these Latin words, because Latin's not used in English, although some words are Latin based, instead of saying the Latin words, we just use the abbreviation. And there are some more that we'll look at in a second, but MB is very, very common, and it just means take note.
To pay attention. It's like,
pay attention, take note. Yeah.
Oh, but this is also for Spanish because I don't think it's very difficult to remember because it's exactly the same in Spanish. Por año, no? So per annum means por año. There's Latin. So,
and another. Sorry.
The problem is that PA means another means personal assistance. So exactly. That was what I was going to say. Personal assistant. In the past, we used to say secretary. Now this personal assistant is more like generic. You can do any kind of thing. The personal assistant can book a trip, can write an email, can do many things. That's why I think that the name changed. But this is typical also British English.
Yeah, and I think it really changed with the gig economy when people started paying online for personal assistants.
Yes.
Then it kind of changed from the typical secretary in the office typing for the boss, and it changed to a personal assistant online.
Yeah, because it's more egalitarian, no? It's not like, and it can be a man or a woman, but in the case of secretary, it's kind of that's really boomer. Secretary. I have a secretary. Nobody has secretaries anymore. You have personal assistants, people that help you, but no secretaries.
Do you have a personal assistant, Monica, to help you with your work?
Yes, I do sometimes. Not always. Good. Yes, sometimes I have had, and I have also virtual assistants. So, also you need an accountant, for example, and I need an accountant. You need
that's another one you just mentioned. I'll put that in the chat. VA is virtual assistant.
Yeah.
That's another very popular.
Virtual assistant. Yeah, virtual assistants became very popular with the internet because you were supposed to be able to hire people from other countries that were cheaper, no? Instead of having a secretary in your own country, where you have to pay lots of, Social Security extra cost. You had a virtual assistant, but this is not very good. Sometimes it doesn't work very well. I was researching about that, and I just thought that was not a very good idea. You have to be very careful. No, because it seems to be very cheap and effective and efficient, but you have very little control. You need to know or test the person before, because it's in another part of the world.
And also be very clear, I think, of your instructions.
Exactly, very clear of the instruction. And in the United States, there was a moment where everything was done by virtual assistants. Like you wanted to buy tickets or send it close to the dry cleaner or anything, no? And then you can just hire online. And nowadays we have a little bit of that with the delivery boys, but it's specific for certain industries, or the people, the courier, the people that deliver the Amazon packages, and I think it's specific for certain industry. It's not like you can tell them to go and wash your car, for example, do things like that.
Okay, then the next one is PLC, public limited company, that we mentioned before. Monica mentioned this. And years ago, it used to be in the UK, in British English, a limited company, which was abbreviated LTD. And then it kind of changed and PLC became more popular. So limited liability company, as Monica said earlier, but it's more common to see the abbreviation PLC. And it usually comes after the company's name. So,
no, but here there's a difference. There's a legal difference. And
is there?
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Public means that it's in the stock market. That doesn't mean that it's public from the administration, but it means that a company goes public when people can buy shares and have part of the capital of that company to go public. If you go public, it's a way for the company to get money from everybody. Everybody can invest in the company. Everybody has an option to buy the shares of that company, and it goes public. So it means that it's in the stock market. And the stock market in Spanish is la bolsa. So in the stock market, we see different only very big companies go there, because you need a lot of capital to do that. When you grow and you have supposedly a business that is really working, you can go public and you can ask the people to invest in your company. And then it would be a public limited company, meaning that it's in the stock market, but the responsibility from the shareholders is limited to the capital of the company. Okay.
So a limited company cannot float shares on the stock exchange. Is that correct?
No, it can. It floats shares. Exactly. That's what they do, because it's public. Public means
a limited company, an LTD.
No. Yeah, the other one.
LTD,
the
other one.
Exactly. In American English, it's a corporation. That is, this public limited company would be a corporation. Okay. And in a limited company, an SL, like in Spain, it's called SL, cannot float shares in the stock market. No, because that's not the real format for the company. It's more this format. Okay. This float, you said float shares.
Float shares.
So cotizar en bolsa. That's the meaning in Spanish. Cotizar, to float shares in the stock market.
So to summarize, a PLC can float shares on the stock market, but a limited company, an LTD, cannot.
No.
Gotcha.
I don't think so, because that must be.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense.
British regulations, but I will have to check it, because I know more about American corporations than British. But I think that's what they mean by public, not that it belongs to the administration. Because in Spanish, if you say public, it means that it belongs to the state. It belongs to the. But this is not the case. It doesn't mean that. It's confusing. Okay. Next one
is very often seen at the bottom of a document, a contract, some legal document. And if a person cannot sign for something, cannot sign their name, another person can sign for them. And we were just speaking about secretaries, for example. Let's imagine that the boss is not in the office and something needs to be signed, then the secretary can sign in the place of the boss. So this PP, if you see that on a document or contract, in the Latin is per pro, so it's being signed in the absence of another person. It's being signed for someone else.
I wanted to say that this is exactly the same in Spanish.
Oh, so yeah, it's easy
because
then.
it's Latin. Yeah, it's easy because in Spanish we translate that as por poder. So por poder is like you have a power of attorney. Somebody says, I can say to Craig, look, Craig, I cannot manage my business now because I have to go on a trip. I'll give you a power of attorney and you sign. Okay, so I go to the notary and I say, Craig can do all these things. And then when he signs, he can put por poder. Okay,
but for example, if I'm living with somebody else and Amazon comes to the door with a parcel for this person, and they want this person to sign for this parcel, this delivery, and I say, well, this person isn't here, I'll sign for them. I don't need power of attorney to sign for them.
No,
I can just say Craig PP and then the name of the person.
Yeah. But the thing of power of attorney is when it's really you need
legal.
it legally. Yeah, it's a legal. Not in that situation. I don't even. Amazon doesn't even ask you to sign anything anymore. They just throw it to you.
They give it to the neighbor. They give it to the neighbor. The next floor.
Or they can give it even to a dog that is walking by. They can go have it. You see, this is the thing of signing. It's like boom, out.
And when they give it to the dog, the P represents the paw of the dog. So it's like the paw of the person.
They just throw it. If you have a garden or anything like that, you just throw it to you. I have found there at the entrance, you find the package at the entrance. Just throw it on the
You don't need power of attorney for Amazon.
No, you don't need a power of attorney at all.
Okay, next one, PR.
PR. This is also of Spanish, the PR, public relations. So it's very common.
Yeah, PR firm, PR company.
Yes, PR company. Probably the pronunciation is not common, but the letters, yes, the acronyms.
Okay, so I think most of the people watching do speak Spanish, so there's no point in explaining it. If that's not clear, let us know. We'll move on quickly because the next one is quite confusing. Some of my students, when they add something at the end of an email or a letter, they write, if they're a Spanish speaker, they write PD. However, in English, we write PS for postscript or proscriptum, which means adding something more to the email or the letter. So be careful, don't confuse that. If you're writing in English, it's PS and not PD at the end of the letter. Is this the same in Spanish, Monica?
No.
At the bottom of the page?
No, so I leave it to you. No, because
okay.
No, in Spanish it's PD, no? Post datum. And that's why they write post datum and not PS.
But PTO, is PTO? Is that the same?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Okay, so
this doesn't exist.
This is probably more common before digital, in analog days where you had contracts and papers. And if there's PTO at the bottom of the page, it means please turn over. So PTO is just a quick way to tell you there are more pages and you need to turn over the page. So perhaps not so common these days, but PTO?
No, because I just signed a contract. Nowadays, all kinds of contracts with the utility company, and you receive everything online. It's very strange when you have to sign because it's becoming more and more. It's a stranger. You do everything online. You accept online. You have an account with your invoices, with your bills, so it's becoming all this vocabulary. Sometimes I think we change the vocabulary with the technology, actually.
That's true.
It has a different meaning. Like when we saw carbon copy, for example, we use it for email, but it started with the carbon paper.
Marcelo says MS could be manuscript and multiple sclerosis.
Also for illness, diseases or illnesses, you have lots of acronyms.
Could also be Microsoft, couldn't it? Microsoft Word.
Yeah.
Okay, where are we? Quantity, very often represented by the abbreviation QTY. Is that common in Spanish? Is there a
Not
similar? No.
at all. Not at all.
So
There's not
sometimes
a
you might see that
of,
on an invoice,
mm-hmm,
factura. You might see at the bottom quantity
mm-hmm,
12 or quantity
yeah.
16, however many things you've bought. You might see QTY on an email or an invoice, and now you know what that represents.
And this is very common in Spanish too, because I think the people that work for research know this, research and development. They know this acronym very well because it's very, very common for example, researchers at a lab or a hospital, at the university. They're supposed to write in English because the papers that they write are usually in English. So this terminology is quite familiar for them. I would say it's very familiar.
Hey, sorry, I just had to blow my nose. Next one. Re, with reference to. So this is very common in an email or a letter. The subject of the email could be your recent order. So your recent order regarding or with reference to your recent order. If you see the abbreviation RE, it means with reference to or regarding.
This is very famous, but because this is French, and it's, at least in the past, I remember this. You get a wedding invitation, for example, something like a little bit formal, because you're not going. I haven't seen that on emails or anything like that. I've seen it on cards, wedding cards, for example, and this means please answer, no? But in French, respondez s'il vous plaît. So when you see that acronym, I think most people know this. I don't know. In Spanish,
please reply. Please reply.
Please reply. Yeah, but it's because it's an important invitation. Usually it's used because it's an important invitation, and they need to know the number of guests, no? And so when you get the invitation, it's very formal. You get an envelope, you get this nice card and all that. And then it's with these letters, the fonts are very nice and all that. But would you put this in an email?
No. And I can't remember the last time I received an invitation to a wedding or a party by mail. It's been a long time since I've been to a wedding.
Nobody marries anymore.
Nobody gets married anymore because of COVID. Yeah.
No. Yeah. I don't know. I have not received an invitation for a wedding for a long time either. And also, but usually wedding invitations are always, it used to be paper invitation, not really. They don't send you an email.
No.
No, they won't send you. No, but no.
A very common abbreviation that you probably will see is VAT, value-added tax.
In Spanish is IVA. This is the value-added tax. So yes. IVA, because it's a European tax. I don't know in South America, but it's usually a tax for consumers. So anything you buy has this value-added tax, and different percentages, of course. In different countries are different percentages of tax, no? And here in Spain, it's usually 21%, the value-added tax.
Yeah. In America, it might be called service tax, correct? That's what they might say in American English.
I don't remember this. No. Yeah, it could be service tax.
And the last one we have is VIP, which I think is also used in Spanish. A very important person is a VIP.
Very much. Yeah. Everybody knows this. Yeah. Very important person. Eduardo Ingles, I think he put this AKA apodo, no? Ingles. Eduardo Ingles says COVID is also an acronym, isn't it?
Yes,
I think it's an acronym. It's a virus and something like, because it's a family of virus, no?
I think so. Should we check it?
I'm trying to COVID acronym. It means coronavirus. Coronavirus.
Of course it does. Of course it does. SARS-CoV-2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Corona.
Anyway, shall we go back and recap?
Are you
Go
okay?
back to the
Recap.
beginning.
Yes.
A quick summary of the acronyms
Yes.
and abbreviations that we looked at. So the first one was AGM, which is an annual general meeting.
Then CEO, Chief Executive Officer.
And staying inside the company, we had CFO, Chief Financial Officer.
COB, Chairman of the Board.
AC, if you see that, that means account.
AI, Artificial Intelligence.
And ASAP, ASAP, as soon as possible.
ATM, Automated Teller Machine.
Or in British English, the cashpoint or the hole in the wall.
ATTN for the attention off.
And in emails, you see the CC space or field for carbon copy, or BCC, blind carbon copy, if you don't want people to see the emails addresses of the other people.
COD, Cash on Delivery.
DPT, department, for example, police department or accounts department.
ETA, Estimated Time of Arrival.
GDP, the amount of money created inside a country or that goes in domestically inside the country.
GNP, Gross National Product, only referring to nationals or citizens of the country.
And Inc. is an incorporated company. I'm sorry, an incorporated company, Inc.
JR, Junior.
NA, I think Monica said that's also the same in Spanish, not applicable.
NB, Nota Bene, Latin. Meaning take notes, yeah.
PA is your personal assistant, and VA, virtual assistant.
PA, per annum, per year.
And PLC, public limited company, not to be confused as I did with limited company, which is not on the stock market.
PP, per pro.
PR, public relations, a public relations company or firm.
PS, post scriptum.
PTO, please turn over.
QTY, quantity.
If you see R&D, DEPT, that's the research and development department of a company.
RE, with reference to.
Wedding invitations, etc. RSVP, please reply. Respondez, s'il vous plaît.
VAT, value-added tax.
And just like Monica, VIP is a very important person.
Isn't that me? I am not a very
Monica, will you be writing these abbreviations up as some kind of blog post in the future so that people have a reference to it?
Yes, of course. And in a couple of weeks, you'll see it in Blog del Inglés. And hopefully I can even have an infographic, but that takes time. So I don't know. Sometimes I am able to create the infographics and post it everywhere, but sometimes I don't have enough time because it takes some time to. But on the blog for sure.
And what else can other people find on Blog del Inglés?
Well, you can find audios, you can find courses, you can find explanations of grammar point, lots of videos, translations, anything under the sun related to English in Spanish.
Yeah, especially for Spanish speakers. And also for Spanish speakers, if you want to visit mansioningles.com, you'll find free courses and lots of material to help you improve your English. And we also have a bi-monthly newsletter that goes out free to your email box twice a month. You can sign up at mansioningles.com and listen to our podcast. You can find that at inglespodcast.com or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Okay, are there any final comments before we say goodbye this week? Eduardo? Yeah, coronavirus disease. Yeah, of course. COVID, coronavirus. Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, thanks for watching. Thanks for being with us. And we'll
thank
see
you,
you
Gemma.
again soon.
I see your comment. Thank you. Thanks for the loyalty. I think Gemma is so loyal to us. Thank you very much.
We'll see you soon. Take care.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.